In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix the braking mechanism in the UppaBaby Vista V2. The brake was being depressed, but it was staying green and not locking. So let's take a look. The first thing we're going to want to do is remove the wheel, so just press the button and take it off. Once we're inside, we'll see that there's 3 screws holding the brake mechanism together. So let's just go in here with a Phillips screwdriver and take those 3 screws out. At this point we can remove the brake pedal, and inside there's a white ratchet with a pin holder and a metal spring. At this point you'll want to test that white ratchet and ensure that it makes a clicking noise. If it doesn't, you'll want to remove the metal screw and replace the spring behind it. But for my case, it wasn't a problem. Looking at where the wheel attaches, we've got this white clip on one side, and on the other side we've got where the 3 screws went in, and there's a spring visible. So just use a flathead screwdriver and remove the spring and clip. When I did this, I found 2 pieces of broken plastic, but there was nothing on the mechanism that had chipped plastic, so it remained a mystery for the time being. But regardless, it seemed likely that those pieces of plastic were obstructions to the brake mechanism working properly. So from here, we started to reassemble the brake mechanism by putting the spring back on the retaining clip. Resetting the spring was a bit of a challenge. Initially, we tried using a flathead screwdriver, but in the end, it was easier to just use a finger to pull back the spring and then just reset it that way by pushing it into place. We then went and reinstalled the brake pin. Make sure that when you do this, you have the colors facing the window and the spring surrounding the metal pin. We found that that wasn't enough to push the pin all the way through, and so we had to lift this white spring-loaded retaining clip up with a flathead screwdriver to fully push the pin all the way in. Once the pin was fully in, we used some needle nose pliers to clamp onto the metal pin and hold it in place. At this point, we reinstalled the brake pedal and then began to go and reinstall the screws while one person holds the pin in place with the needle nose pliers. The other person uses the Phillips screwdriver to go and screw all the little screws in place. So very handy to have 2 people for this point of the job. And with that, our brake mechanism began working again. So hooray, no runaway baby. As we were about to reinstall the wheels, I noticed breaks in the plastic webbing on the back side of the wheel where the brake pin makes contact. Apparently, this was the source of the plastic chips that clogged our braking mechanism in the first place. Since some damage to the wheel had already been done, we switched the braking wheel for the non-braking wheel, as they're both identical, and voila! Our stroller brake was as good as new.